Hey guys, welcome to the Red Vault again. This is Tolga SERT. Today we will talk about my worst and best equipment purchases of all time. Exactly 6 months ago I started this YouTube channel, and the end of the 6th month is a milestone for me, and today we just passed 50,000 views as a channel and we are counting to the 500 subscribers. I know it ain't much, but it's honest work, and obviously I couldn't do any of it with your contributions and your huge support. Thanks for that. In this 6 months I shot the videos of every equipment of mine besides the promotional stuff and my friends' products, and because of this and because of the milestone too, I shot this exact video right now. So today we will check all of my current and previous equipments. The equipment list goes to the 2008 and there are nearly 40 guitars and lots of audio interfaces, amplifiers, a few cabinets, there are microphones, lots of studio gear and also recording and stage stuff too. Now let's start the video. So in this video I'm gonna use equipboard.com, but it's not some promotional video. I just like the website. You can create lists of your equipments, you can write reviews, you can share your pictures. Probably you will get the importance of this kind of stuff if you start hoarding some equipments. And I found this website a few years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, while I was looking something like this, and it helps me remember especially my previous equipments, guitars, amplifiers, etc. It's not a complicated website. Let's start with the guitars. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It will be really helpful to me to understand what you like. As I just mentioned, the end of the 6th month is a milestone for me, and I have a guitar review for this Friday or Saturday, I'm not sure. After that I will release one video per week instead of 2, because I'm doing all of those in my spare times and I want to use this limited time as efficient as possible, and I want to create content that we can both enjoy. So don't forget to like the video if you enjoy it. Now let's really start. We have the guitars first. As you can see, currently I have 13 different guitars, and the square bullet Strat is my first guitar. I purchased it in 2007 or 2008. Actually my father bought it for me when I was in vacation. Before this guitar I had a few Spanish type guitars. I'm still keeping this guitar. And then I just purchased the BC Rich Kerry King Signature V. Actually in the picture you are seeing the USA version, the custom shop version, but I couldn't find the Chinese version of this guitar, and I purchased this guitar in 2010 or 2011 in my high school years after listening some Metallica and Megadeth, and this guitar was a beast back in the day, and today it's really a killer guitar. There are some bottlenecks because its price range is $200 or $300 and it's not that good. It still has a Kahler on it. Pickups are not that bad. By the way, you can watch the reviews of all of those guitars in detail in their own specific videos. My Jackson JS32. I highly customized this guitar a few years ago. I painted it red. I closed the neck pickup cavity. I put some black hardware. Actually, it was not that one. It was something from Indian factory with chrome hardware and all black instead of white bevels. Actually, I can say I became a huge Megadeth fanboy just before purchasing this guitar, and I can easily say for Squier, for BC Rich and for the Jackson, about all of those 3 guitars, entry-level guitars back in the day were better than today's production. I believe, I feel like it, because I played current Jacksons and I played the previous Jacksons. Also it applies to the Squier and kinda BC Rich. They are not producing entry-level guitars as far as I know in these days, because they were closed or inactive for a while, and today I can use all of those guitars in stage with some customizations, but I can't say the same to the current productions, current versions of those guitars. And now let's talk about the real deal. The Jackson KVMG Pro. I tried to collect the amount for nearly a year. It was pricey for a teenager, and the specs of this guitar is amazing. It has an alder body, ebony fretboard, maple neck, Floyd Rose 1000, with EMG 81 and 89. Later I switched the pickups to Seymour Duncan JB 59 and it became even better, and it defined my taste about guitars. You know, most of the guitars I have has an alder body and maple neck and ebony or rosewood fretboards, but the configurations quite similar. And then my true love, my Jackson KV2, USA Select KV2, I spent a lot and I traded a guitar for it. It was something huge. As I remember, I took a loan from the bank to purchase this guitar and I paid it for a whole year, but I used this guitar in so many concerts, so many recordings. It was different and today it's still different. Just last week I released the video of it, the review video of it. You can watch my honest opinions about this guitar. It's not just an instrument for me, it's a piece of art for me, and I think it's the best it can be. There's nothing else to say. And then at some point I purchased a bass guitar, which is a David Ellison signature with 5 strings, the X series version of it, the concert bass. Actually, I purchased this guitar because of our previous bassist. He had the exact same guitar with quicksilver finish, and it could be helpful to have the exact guitar with a different finish, you know, for the stage purposes, for the music video purposes, you know, different alternatives. Anyway, and then Jackson KV Pro Dave Mustaine. It was the best deal. It was the best steal of my life because I purchased this guitar maybe cheaper than $1,000 and it cost a lot more. And the owner of it was the first owner of this guitar. He purchased it in 1994 and I was born in 1995, by the way. This guitar is older than me and it's Dave Mustaine. It's the KV Pro. It's the real Japanese Kashingaki factory product. You know, they ended this line because it was even better than the USA's. And just after the purchase, maybe 8 or 10 different people wrote to me to purchase this guitar from me with a lot more money, but I said I can't sell it because it's something I should keep. It will go to my children unless there's a health issue or something catastrophic, God forbid. And the owner specifically said to me, I want to give this guitar to someone who deserves it, and I just sent my Instagram address and I said I think I'm the best option in this entire country, and he sold to me in a minute. After this guitar I start to dig into more to the Japanese line, the old Japanese Jacksons, because till that moment I was thinking like new is always better, you know, it's something old. It couldn't be that good, it couldn't be like a US made, but the KV Pro break all of my thoughts into the ground. And then I start to find some Japanese Jacksons and I purchased a Warrior. Because of it, I also have 4 different Japanese Jacksons beside the KV Pro. The first one is Warrior. Actually, it's some customized stuff. The neck is from a Dinky, the body from a Warrior. I put some Gotoh bridge, Seymour Duncan pickups, tuners as I remember. It's a really killer guitar. You should check the customization video of it. I really recommend it. And then I have a KV5. It's the Pro line. By the way, the Warrior is the X series of Japanese factory, but the KV5, the Phil Demolition V and the RR5 belongs to the Pro series, and all of them probably from 2006 or 2008. All of those are the equivalent of the KV Pro Dave Mustaine just after 15 years, 10 or 15 years. And those Pro series Japanese Jacksons are something different too, really something different. I feel something different unlike the Indonesian Pro Series. While mentioning the Indonesian Pro Series, after the RR5 Pro, I purchased 2 different Pro Series, Indonesian Pro Series Jackson 2, which are RR24Q and the two-faced KVMG. Actually, it's just KV Pro, it's not KVMG because the MG means the EMG pickups as far as I remember. They are not the best. They have some issues, QC issues, but it's understandable for its price. Maybe understandable actually, but those guitars would look cool at the stage. Also, there were a huge sale in the store and I just purchased those 2 guitars. So with a Squier, a B series and 11 different Jacksons, you probably guess my favorite brand. Yes, it's ESP. Now let's continue with the recording and stage stuff. I think you should take notes about this section because I tried to purchase the exact equipment which can handle my exact needs in the recording and stage stuff. So I think if you have the similar needs, those items can be the best options money can buy. Let's start with the computer. I'm using an Apple Mac Mini with 16 gigabytes RAM or CPU or core. I don't know what it is, but it's 16 gigabyte, not 8. Also, I'm using it with a dock and an additional SSD. The render time of the videos, so the CPU capacity is really good. Also, during the rehearsals, we can hear ourselves without any latency, and we are using 16 different microphones or lines for drums, for guitars, and for the vocal. There are lots of different plugins as compressors, EQs, or amplifier simulations, and there's no latency in our headphones. It's a really warhorse for me. And then I'm using a Focusrite Scarlett 18i20 with Scarlett Octopre. I connect the Octopre with an optic cable to the Scarlett 18i20, and with this I have 16 different inputs. As you know, I'm using all of those inputs either for the recording drums with lots of different microphones, for the rehearsal purpose with a smaller set of microphones, and you know, there are guitars and bass and vocals, etc. And also the DI quality is really satisfying. By the way, I use some high-end stuff like Linux Hilo, and I can easily say the differences in price and quality are not in an agreement. So I really recommend Focusrite Scarlett for this type of operations. Also, I'm using Yamaha HS7s. It's not that good, it's not that bad. You can get more better stuff for more money, but the quality of the sound also depends on the acoustic treatment, and without proper acoustic treatment, all of those high-end stuff will be useless. At least it won't be better than an HS7. So instead of purchasing high-end stuff without any money to spend to the treatment, purchase something affordable and then pay some to the panels, you know, isolation or acoustic panels, etc. And let's continue. I'm using Apple Magic Keyboard, and it's the best item to get a huge beefy metal sound. Obviously, I just love the feel of it. It's something cool. Also, I'm using Logitech Ergo. Actually, I purchased this mouse to avoid myself from bumping into a full glass and spill it on everywhere. Also, the trackball is something cool. Also, I'm using Shure SE215 as an in-ear monitor headphone. It's not that bad, it's not that good. Satisfying for me, it's worth the money. It's nice, there's nothing else much to say. It's nice. And then I have an Shure SM7B. I purchased this microphone just for the growling, just for the brutal vocals, because you need this microphone to record tremendous brutal vocals. Also, I have an SM57 just in here. Actually, I purchased this microphone to use as a bottom snare microphone, but I'm using it for the cabinets right now because I just need the top microphone, top snare microphone for my recording technique. As a strap, I'm using just one. It's Richter 1520, all leather, and the craftsmanship is really cool. Also, the design is really cool. I put some Dunlop strap locks on it. Because of it, I can change my guitar at the stage if something goes wrong. As a cabinet, I have a Marshall MG 4x12. It's a really cheap cabinet, and most of the time purchasing a cheap cabinet aren't that logical because your cabinet will directly affect your sound if you are using the cabinet with an all tube amplifier. But I'm using this Marshall cabinet with my Moore GE300 and the Moore Baby Bomb power amp. Because of it, I can adjust the sound of my cabinet as I want. If it's too fizzy or there's too much low end, I can adjust the tone with a post EQ. Actually, Moore GE300 has a global EQ feature, and I put an exact EQ curve into it, which avoids me to get a boxy guitar tone. And I'm also using a Baby Bomb power amp. It's quite transparent. It's not the best, obviously. I can easily say that because I used some high-end stuff like Fryet. And if you are looking for the response of a high-end power amp, it might not be the best for you. It was the best option for me, and I purchased it, and I'm using it for a few years. It's a true warhorse as well. Actually, I sold this bass driver DI because Neural DSP Parallax can do everything. I don't need this pedal, and I sold it a few months ago. Also, I purchased a noise killer for the bass guitar rig to use it with the bass driver DI. I sold the bass driver DI, but I wouldn't sold the noise killer because it's a really nice noise gate and it provides much more than the price. And I'm using it with a Moore Macro Power S8. It's a fully isolated power unit instead of some glorified daisy chain, and actually it's cheap compared to the alternatives. Also, I have a Focusrite Scarlett Solo somewhere. Anyway, who cares? It's a good alternative and can save the day time to time. And now let's talk about the previous items of mine, and I'm gonna mention why I sold those products. BC Rich Warlock Bronze, it wasn't that good. I also tried to customize it, but even removing the paint was impossible for me. Because of it, I sold this guitar. Jackson KVXT, I'm not into tom bridges, and because of it, I traded it with a Jackson SLX. SX Jazz Bass, I purchased the Jackson. Jackson KVT, absolute beast, but I traded it for the KV2. I put some money on it and gave it for the KV2. It was one of the best deals I ever made because it's an US made KV2. Jackson Rhodes RRX-MG. Actually, I purchased this guitar twice. Once it was an Indian and then it was an Indonesian. Indonesian one, absolute beast. Indian one, total. And then I sold the Indonesian RRX-MG because I sold every one of my X series Jacksons. Jackson SLXT, I traded this guitar with the Indian RRX-MG. It was not the one that I get for the KVXT. Because of the tom bridge, I sold it as well. Jeff Loomis JL7, absolute beast. I'm not into 7 strings. Jackson Kelly KE3, it was a nice guitar too, but I sold it because it has a bolt-on neck and I'm not into it. Also, I'm not that into the Kelly body shape. Because of it, I sold it. RR3, actually I have the RR3 Pro with Erie Death Swirl back in the day, and it's the guitar that makes me love Seymour Duncan JB59s. So I switched the pickups of my KVMG with this guitar's pickups. So I put EMG 81, 85s, 89s into the RR3, and I took the JB59 out of it and put into the KVMG, and then I sold the RR3 because of the bolt-on neck. Jackson KV3, actually it was not a completely KV3. I purchased the KV3 body and then I put some counterfeit neck into it, and then after a while I bought and then I sold Ibanez S547OF. I don't even remember the guitar. I just purchased it and then I sold it. I played it for a while. I'm not into Ibanez. Charvel Desolation Soloist, actually it's a cool guitar as well, but I'm not into tom bridges again and again. And then we have a Jackson Dinky. Actually that's the guitar that I swapped the bodies with the Warrior. X Series Jackson Kelly, sold it because I sold every one of my X Series Jacksons. Warrior X Series, sold it because I sold every one of my X Series. Jackson Soloist SLXQ, that's the guitar I traded with the KVXT. I sold it again because I sold every one of my X Series Jacksons. Why I sold all of my X Series Jacksons? Because I think they starts to worn out after a few years because of the quality of the tuners. Maybe it's psychological. Also because of the quality of the Floyd Rose Special, I think it's obvious. Also, while having all of those good stuff, those killer stuff, those high-end stuff, it seems kind of meaningless to having all of those X Series imports around. It's not that logical. I find this Columbus Les Paul from the 70s. Actually, it's a nice guitar. It has an arch top, but I sold it because of the bolt-on. And then we have Schecter Loomis V. I feel kind of sad about this guitar because I sold this guitar because I need money back in the day for a brief time, and I sold it for a good price actually. And then Gibson SG, it was not my thing. Shure PG57, I sold this microphone because I purchased the better one. Samson SR850, it's a nice headphone, but I purchased something better. Let's talk about the audio interfaces. In 2014, I purchased an audio box from Presonus, and it was a nice audio interface. Actually, the sound quality is quite nice, and I totally recommend it if you have a limited budget. But then I sold it because I purchased a Line 6 Firehawk FX. It was a processor, but I used it also as an audio interface, and because of it, using the audio box became meaningless, and then I sold it. And then after a while, I sold the Line 6 Firehawk FX because Firehawk wasn't that realistic. Also, I couldn't load impulse response files. Because of it, it became useless for me. You know, okay amplifiers with bad cabinets cabinet. It wasn't helping. I purchased Mackie Onyx Producer as an audio interface. It was even worse than the audio box, but I don't want to spend much to an audio interface back in the day. And by the way, I sold Mackie Onyx too. You know, there was a constant muddiness in the sound. The device actually feels really premium, but the sound isn't that good. Also, it has a high Z feature, but it's not helping either. Maybe I couldn't use it well, but I wasn't happy with the device either. By the way, you can say, if you weren't happy with the Firehawk, why did you purchase it in the first place? Obviously. And you are seeing my processors in a chronologic order that I used before Firehawk FX. And in 2008 I purchased a Zoom G1XN. It wasn't that good, it wasn't that bad. For its price it was okay, and I used it with my Marshall MG15, so it did its best, but it's just an entry-level item. And then I switched to the Zoom 505 and 505 too. Actually, I even used those pedals at the stage. It wasn't that good either. And then I switched to the Zoom G2 Dave Mustaine signature. Actually, it sounds better compared to those, but after using all of those, Firehawk was something good, something nice. And then I met the Moore preamp live in one of videos of Ola Englund, as I remember, and the tone capture feature really amazed me back in the day. And then I purchased and then I sold the Moore preamp live because it only has amplifiers and cabinets, and I need FX section as well, and then I need a tuner, and it has no tuner even. And because of it I switched to the Moore GE300, and I'm still using the GE300. Also, I had some analog pedals. There were a Ibanez Tomb Screamer Mini. I sold it because I switched to the GE300. I sold Moore Raider because I switched to the Moore GE300. I sold Polytune. Actually, I'm not sure why I sold it. It became useless, as I remember. Also, I had a Boss CS3 and Rock Fabric FX Mind Abuse. It was the Mark II, and I sold those as well because all of those became useless. Blackstar HT Studio 20. It was a hybrid head instead of all tube amplifier, but it was my first tube amplifier back in the day, and I used it with a Blackstar 1x12 cabinet. It was the venue version. You know, the width is different, it's kind of wider than the regular 1x12 Blackstar cabinets, and it sounds nice. It was a nice device, it was a nice amplifier and cabinet, but I sold all of those because the digital stuff became more interesting. Also, Marshall MG15, my first amplifier. It's okay, it's nice, it's good for practicing. Randall Kirkhammett's signature amplifier. It can be the best solid state I ever played. You know, I even used the Tube Screamer for ENGL or 5150, but this amplifier has something unique. I'm not sure what it is, but in an exact setting, I can't remember right now. I have to tweak it again. I have to play it again to remember, but in an exact setting, it gives me one of the best chugging sound I've ever heard, and I sold it. And it can be one of the greatest mistakes of my life, but it's a really good solid state amplifier for me. Also, it has a 1x12 Celestion 78 speaker, as I remember. It's nice. You should try it at least if you can find one. Also, I owned an SX Vintage Stratocaster. I sold it a few weeks ago. I shot videos of it. Also, if you're a subscriber, probably you are familiar with the Dean ML79 and the LTD Eclipse 1000. I sold those two guitars because both of them has 24.75 inch scales, and I'm not happy with that scale. It's not good for me. So this was all of the equipment I have and I had. I hope you enjoyed the content. I hope it will give you an idea about what I have and why I'm using it. Also, I hope it will be helpful to your consideration about purchasing an item. I want to thank you specifically to the guys who watched till this point. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe as usual. Don't forget to leave a comment. Till the next video, see ya.